So, in 2026, something really strange happened in Thailand's economy. It didn't crash, it just froze. Today, we're going to dissect this crisis, which isn't about prices plummeting, but about buyers and sellers completely vanishing. It's a really dangerous phenomenon called a legal rights shock. So, let me just kick this off with a question for you. We all know market crashes are absolutely terrifying, right? Sharp, painful, everybody just rushing for the exits at once. But what if there was something even scarier? I mean, what if there were no exits at all? Just imagine that for a second. A market where buyers have just disappeared. Sellers are trapped, and the entire system of doing business, of transactions, it just stops. Well, that is exactly what Thailand is facing right now. Okay, let's dive right into this. The first thing we need to wrap our heads around is the symptom. Experts aren't calling this a crash or a recession. They're using a much more vivid term, capital asphyxiation. It's basically a situation where the flow of money, the very oxygen of an economy, gets completely cut off. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. It's not a panic sell-off. It's a complete shift in behavior. First, you see deals just getting postponed forever because nobody has any clue how to price the risk anymore. And for the very few deals that are happening, buyers are demanding these massive discounts, like 30 to 50%. And here's the kicker. New money isn't just leaving, it's not even showing up in the first place. It's all going to places like Vietnam and Malaysia instead. So the result? Old money is trapped, and new money is staying far, far away. The market literally can't breathe. So you have to be wondering, what on earth caused this? Well, this wasn't a natural market cycle. The catalyst was a very deliberate move from the government, a phenomenon that analysts are calling a legal right shock. And this quote right here, it just perfectly captures the government's thinking, which has been led by Interior Minister Anutin Charnvirakul. Look, this isn't just about cracking down on a few people breaking the rules. This is a fundamental redefinition of property rights, of national sovereignty. They are effectively changing the basic rules of the game for anyone who has ever invested in the country. Okay, if there's one thing you need to see, it's this. Just look at the proposed change to the Land Act. Before, if a foreigner was found to own land improperly, they had, up to a year to sell it and get their money back. It was a penalty, sure, but you got your investment back. The new rule, immediate confiscation. No grace period, no getting your money back. Your entire principal is just gone. The risk just went from a financial penalty to a total catastrophic wipeout. And it doesn't stop there. They're also totally redefining what a foreign company even means. It's not just about owning 51% of the shares anymore. No, under this new actual control test, if a foreigner has majority voting rights through special shares, or if a single foreign director has the power to sign off on everything, that company can be reclassified. They're even digging into the bank accounts of Thai shareholders to see if they're actually just nominees. So company structures that were perfectly legal for years are now retroactively becoming illegal. And as you can see from the timeline here, this wasn't some random shock out of the blue. This was a deliberate, planned campaign. It started with new rules, then this incredibly powerful data system called IBAS went live in January, basically connecting all the dots. Then came the confiscation proposal, and then actual raids on the very lawyers and accountants who set up these deals in the first place. This was a systematic dismantling of the entire old way of doing business. Now, a shock of this magnitude, it never stays contained. It spreads like a virus, and we can actually see its contagion effect in 3 distinct layers, moving from the law to the markets and then to the entire financial system. Here's the domino effect. First, the legal shock creates total, absolute uncertainty. Nobody knows if their property rights are actually secure. That directly causes step 2, the market freeze we talked about, this liquidity black hole. But then comes the third and maybe the most dangerous step, the credit breakdown. I mean, if you're a bank, how can you possibly lend money against a piece of property that the government might just seize tomorrow? The answer is you can't. So you just stop lending. And here is the immediate, brutal result of that. For the lower-end property market, we're talking homes under 3 million baht, the mortgage rejection rate has shot up to 70%. This isn't some abstract theory. This is already cutting off the ability of ordinary Thai people to buy a home. And if you look at the supply side, it's just as bad. With buyers gone and all the financing frozen, property developers have seen their pre-sales completely collapse, down almost half in just the first quarter. They're stopping new projects. They're just trying to survive. And that basically grinds the entire construction industry to a halt. So what started as a purely domestic policy is now snowballing into a massive international problem. This legal right shock is triggering clauses in international investment treaties, and it's leading to a global standoff. The key legal term you have to understand here is indirect expropriation. It's a really powerful concept in international law. Basically, it means a government doesn't have to literally padlock your factory to have taken it. If they pass a new law that suddenly makes your investment worthless, they might still be on the hook to pay you for it. And that is exactly what investors are now claiming is happening in Thailand. So, how are the big global powers reacting? Well, Russia, which has huge assets in all the resort areas, is applying some quiet but very firm diplomatic pressure. China's reaction, on the other hand, is much more decisive. Their investors are performing what's being called a strategic contraction. They're pulling back and just rerouting new projects to other countries. And this isn't just a reaction to the shock in 2026. It's building on a trend where Chinese investment was already dropping off a cliff. So the big question is, where does this all go from here? The whole situation is really on a knife's edge. Does this market asphyxiation turn into a full-blown financial meltdown? Well, let's look at the key signals that are going to determine the outcome. To figure out where this is all heading, we don't need a crystal ball. We just need to watch 3 very specific indicators. These are the things that will tell us if Thailand is headed for a recovery or for a much, much bigger crisis. First, and honestly most important, will they add a grandfather clause? What that means is, would these new, super harsh rules only apply to future investments while all the existing ones are protected? If they do that, it could calm the markets down almost overnight. If they don't, if they insist on going back and applying these rules to old deals, then they are actively choosing confrontation. Second, who's going to sue first? The second a major foreign investor files an international arbitration case against the Thai government, it becomes a massive global test case. If that investor wins, it could open the floodgates to a ton of similar lawsuits and deliver a devastating blow to Thailand's credit rating. And finally, when does all the hidden damage in the banking system become public? See, right now, a lot of the pain is kind of masked. But the third quarter of 2026, that's the key window to watch. That's when we're going to see if this credit asphyxiation starts to turn into real blood loss, with a ton of bad loans officially piling up on the bank's balance sheets. In the end, this whole situation leaves us with a pretty profound and, frankly, unsettling idea. This isn't about market forces, it's about state power. The source material for this explainer concludes with this really powerful thought. When a nation decides to fundamentally reset its own rules to reclaim what it sees as its sovereignty, the impact on existing wealth can be more absolute, more destructive than any market crash. It's a huge, high-stakes gamble between legal certainty and national pride, and the world is now watching to see how it all plays out.